Okay. I have two kind of different focuses going here. And yes, we are going to double down on consolidate and concentrate. The energies of consolidating and concentrate, just to be you, as it pertains to evolution, transformation. As part of the transformation guide in transforming, we start with the world. I have Alice in Wonderland, Tarot, Alice in Wonderland Oracle, and an art oracle out with me as well. Knight of Oysters. We'll look at Knight of Oysters, perhaps some of the internal conflict noises going on inside of your head. What else? If you jump on and have questions, feel free to ask. You can put it down in the comments. I'll do my best to watch. Okay. Let's look at the world. Because I think what we're talking about here are larger global issues. Let's see, things that I was watching that might inform where we're going. Pardon the suburban background noise. I don't have any options at the moment. I'm going to do my best to get through this before we have any distractions or interferences, especially auditory. That's fine. I'm going to smudge, clear out some of our energy. We'll get that flowing through. Consolidating. Is condensing and combining and condensing. I'm going to show you the world here. It's interesting going into this space at the moment. Again, some of the information that I have on my mind. Espionage is on my mind. I was watching an interview with a former CIA agent. And then something about wisdom teeth too, or like the connection between the wisdom teeth and the pineal gland, or how are these things coming together? Like breaking out of system molds. Like there are those people who want to do it, and then there are those people who don't want to do it. And you kind of need both. One serves the other. So in the realm of transforming and getting into this avenue of doing something different, and you can't expect that everybody is going to come with you. But there's also like this. What is it that I'm feeling? Because I didn't feel it until after the cameras came on, but I've got two different streams coming. I have a Facebook stream and a YouTube stream coming through. And so, and typically when I tap into the YouTube stream, there's like this larger overarching anxiety, maybe, that comes through or that taps into. This group over here has been pretty curated. There's a regular following of somewhat more localized people, and then when we branch out even beyond that, there's just a lot of noise to filter through. Okay, and she's coming through last. I'm like cycling through this book. Alice stands in one of the squares that make up the Looking Glass world. Only a few steps remain in Alice's adventures, and then she becomes the White Queen. The symbolism is that of completion, of having the world put into proper order, of things the way they should. As far as consolidating goes, I think there's a greater alignment in numerological implications. Other information that's been coming into my sphere has a lot to do with the planets and what the planets are and what they might represent. No, neighbor dog. The children and the animals always gravitate over here. My neighbor kid earlier too, before school, just decided to put his little whatever tractor in front of my driveway and chill over there and hang out. I wonder what will happen next. Ready to adventure, precipice of change, a pause before action. Is that what we're sensing kind of in that sphere of anxiety in this bit? Is a pause before action in a reflective space? Maybe we'll look at what that one is. In that pause, a moment's regret also came up. And let me see. We're pausing and we're reflecting. There doesn't have to be an answer here in this space. I think something energetic and alchemical can happen in this space without the words necessarily doing anything. Okay, this one came out twice for us. We're all mad here. Everyone is a little bit different. I wonder what will happen next in a moment's regret. A moment's regret is nostalgia, idealizing the past, fearing you've made a mistake. But you can't really make mistakes. And that just gets us back to choice. You can't go back to yesterday being the present, the moment's regret. Live life with no regrets. It's kind of an important thing to do as far as making conscientious choices, making conscious choices, and there's that choice word again. I get sensitive maybe, or I get really strongly opinionated when it comes to choice. Choice comes out of conditioning, right? We are conditioned, and so the choices we make are limited to the conditions and the environment in which we're in. And when so much of our behavior, when so much is unconscious, subconscious, I mean, we're talking the 80 to 98 percentile range of things going outside of the awareness. Do not do things you know are bad for you. Do not drink the poison is here. As far as conscientiousness, choices, if you know something is bad for you or others, and you make those choices, maybe that's why there's some of this conflict. But it's hard to not drink the poison when we're inundated with the poisons. Like literal drinking poisons. Soda comes to mind. Food. Just food in general. American food. Especially American food. Highly processed stuff. We're told, we're programmed really in a consumerist market to consume these things. And we do it without really realizing that's what we're doing. And it creates this inner conflict, or it creates these what's the word I'm looking for? Constraint, yeah, but like a dissonance, that's what it is, the cognitive dissonance. We're holding multiple ideologies in your mind, or doing something even though you know you shouldn't. the reward factor is too high. My notes. When we're talking about psychology or human psychology, and we're talking about motivation and what drives behavior, we're talking about our, let's see, how do I want to put it? Without getting too like clinical or in the jargon. So you have food and sex, which motivates the foundation of all behavior. I mean, if we're going to condition somebody, right, we're talking about the need to eat, to fuel ourselves, and the need to procreate, to sustain the species. But when we look a little further into motivational systems outside of those two main drivers, we're looking at, where did it go? Reward, ideology, coercion, and ego, things that can motivate people. And you can lump in food and sex or whatever into each of these categories and then derive your value systems out of that. I mean, I think each of these, at the end of the day, goes back to that. But the reward, what is the reward? In behavior and in transforming, we're talking about rewards and punishment, right? Trying to access reward and trying to avoid punishment. And these, again, are conditioned. It's not necessarily the same for everybody. These can be trained, like I said, conditioned. We're all mad here. Everyone is a little different. It's reflection. No need to fear. Remember how powerful you are. I think there's a lot that's trying to keep people in this state of fear, in this mentality of fear, because they are more easily controlled. Overcome it through exposure therapy by putting yourselves in these curated situations. Let's say to purposely treat. I'm sidewinding a little bit. Let's look at these 9 of flamingos and these spades. Let's look at some of this inner conflict. Because I think when people begin to consume this information and they allow the programming to lock them into specific ways, right, they get really caught up in the oh knows what could haves, anxiety over a loved one, worry and concern. Again, these anxieties of tapping into the world, the worries and the concerns. That fear is programmed, it's indoctrinated into us to control populations. And people think they're so far outside of that. The quarrel or other major unhappiness, miscarriage, despair and suffering, sometimes death, desolation. But the fears, I mean, people are need to look for new solutions, need to come up with innovative solutions to these problems, and this is where I think people are getting stuck. Knight of Oysters. Well, look at this guy. He's all red. He's root chakra, foundation, material world, grounding, anxieties in the world about the material state of things. And then again, the programming, conditioning, and this cultural apocalyptic scenario. Everything is very, very apocalyptic. Feed into it, be in the fear, and then go to the war, or participate in the Matrix games that perpetuate these cycles of anxiety and fear. by stripping away your autonomy, your ability to make decisions, by creating pressures on your basic needs. It all feels really simple to escape. It's a masses game. No, you're not going to go into the little details of it yet. It's okay to sit in a space of silence, because that discomfort that is going to come up is going to show you and expose to you more than any reader or any of these cards can do for you. Knight of Wasters, this guy, mature and responsible, reliable, patient, persistent, organized and dependable, confident spiritually. And this whole Consolidate, Concentrate comes out of patience pays, wait, good things will come, consolidate, concentrate, just be you. And I think in this patience pays, wait, this is not a space of inaction, this is not doing nothing, this is not being passive or being idle. The waiting, it's an effort consciously made with these frequencies of materializing in a more creative future, or even a more creative present. You can't go back to yesterday being the present. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't necessarily I think looking back at humanity, it doesn't matter that we're imperfect or that we've made mistakes. What matters is whether or not we learn from these mistakes. Precipice of change, it's right there. You can't force it, because you'll encounter a lot more resistance, or that ego, that motivator, that ego, your ideologies, right, should drive you these value systems, these global value systems. There should be a great reward for upholding these ideologies. However, we get cultural clashes, or we don't have a system that honors and acknowledges those things. We live in a veiled reality, or this coercion thing, the motivator, the coercion, being coerced is a manipulation, a way to manipulate another's behavior to get them to do what you want by providing some sort of incentive that may or may not be good for them, but one that they ultimately want. It has an immediate reinforcement value. And you have to be very mindful and aware of when you're being coerced in your life and what is coercing you and motivating that. I think money is a big factor of that for people. I think a lot of people have been coerced financially, or with money, or with status or power, to do things that maybe they wouldn't have done otherwise. It's always tea time. Who in the world comes up are you? Who in the world are you? Getting to know the new you. Maybe you have to understand the old you in order to know the new you, or have a baseline, basically, to compare and contrast it along. And the baseline, that CIA thing that I was watching earlier, they're talking about 3 different levels, right, of selfhood and the way we present to others. So there is a public self that we present. There is a more private self that we present to only certain people, and then we have the secret self that we keep primarily to ourselves. So who in the world are you? We have the world. who in the world are you? And we think we know ourselves, or we have this very magnified lens on the things that other people cannot see, and we perceive these as truth, as reality, perhaps. Then we veil it and we mask it and we disguise it as something that's more socially acceptable, or something that leaves us less vulnerable in group situations, right? That mask. And then then the public sphere comes into play. Who do people think you are versus who do you think you are? And like, where's that Venn diagram? Where's the overlap? Such a curious stream, grounding, returning to reality, coming home, finding objective data, basically. Who in the world are you? Having an objective response to that. And I think a lot of people begin to shut down in this realm because they like to stay in this dreaming space where they think that they know who they are, but they're not open to the feedback of others. And I think this is where some of the best growth can come into play, is when we open ourselves up to that feedback from others. But a lot of people don't want to do it. They get really uncomfortable. I don't want to work with people who don't want to be uncomfortable. I think there are plenty of people who are very content being with themselves, and they can share in their contentness, and they can do that. I want to work with people who are wanting to be uncomfortable, who are okay with being uncomfortable, who know that discomfort is part of this process, and who are willing to go to uncomfortable places to make these great transformations. I want to see people do the work. The Emperor comes in, look at what he's got to say, and I'll take the one under it, or 3 of Pepper Mills. Maybe we'll even look at the 8 there too, the Emperor, 3 Pepper Mills, 8 Pepper Mills. There's like an infinite balance, I suppose, of how all the things are coming together. Follow the right white rabbit, it says. Go down the holes. Follow those trails in those quiet and contemplative spaces. The Emperor here is the Cheshire Cat. And he's an interesting character, or plays an interesting role in how one navigates through these obstacles. There's not a right or a wrong. There's a try or don't try. A do or don't do, a take action or don't take action. And we're in a space of needing to take action, but even no response is a response, right? No action is also an action that precipitates a chain of events, right? Or a chain of behaviors that has a collective outcome. Okay, so here he says the Cheshire Cat is not really a cat, but can appear as one through his strange powers of teleportation. Maybe this goes into that realm of things aren't what they seem to be. And then I watched some weird little clip of a mud skipper, like, teleporting. He's trying to, like, clip onto this mud skipper, right? And just scoots over here so quick, so fast, that movement. Would escape. He's pictured sitting in a tree, grinning. Contrary to general belief, he's brown and black, not orange. Originally seen in the house of the Duchess, he pops up now and then to give Alice advice. He is the wisdom, the floating conscience, the wonderland, in Wonderland, the conscience. Interesting, the conscience in Wonderland, wisdom, then we go back to the wisdom teeth. We have my wisdom teeth taken out in high school, all 4 of them at one time. I had 2 of them that were like the size of 2. And then I began also looking into like shamanism and extra bones and shamanism. And I heard this thing this morning that was talking about wisdom teeth and the link to the pineal gland, and how especially with food, or how all of these things come in to block off these channels. And it's just, I wonder how much different my experience would be if I had those. For whatever reason, farming people is coming to mind through medical, industrial, or farming oils, petroleum, but using these synthetic things kind of across the board. We're not going to go down that one yet. Let's focus more on the individual as opposed to the psychosocial. Higher than the kings, more worldly, wise, and confident, a symbol of stability and leadership, as well as a male family member, logic above emotion. Something else from that one too, like not trusting your emotions, not trusting your gut. Don't trust your gut. Don't listen to the emotions. Go for the logical. Go for the objective. Why? Because our emotions are puppeted. They're played and they're played with. Our emotions are manipulated to get us to engage in certain behaviors for that psychosocial dynamic. I'm gonna pause. Actually, I think I might end this one and then come back to this later.